The number one thing that holds businesses back from scaling, growing, and realizing their true potential is all going to come down to capital. How quickly can they access capital? How much capital can they access? What does their funding look like? And all of this boils back down to business credit, because one of these secret weapons that businesses have is their ability to instantly tap into capital so that they can take a new idea from ground zero and scale it into a multi-million or multi-billion dollar company. But that's easier said than done, especially when you're starting out. So when it comes to building business credit, there's a few things that are being kept from you that banks don't necessarily want you to know, and that's not necessarily out there, which is why I wanted to create this video right here. So if you find value in this type of content, whether it's personal credit, business credit, entrepreneurship, and business-like content, then consider hitting that subscribe button down below, join the official community, and tap that like button because it helps this content reach a larger audience. So let's talk about the first thing that these banks don't want you to know, and that's going to be the weight that's put on your application whenever you are applying for business credit, business funding. And the weight that we're talking about is it's going to come down to your EIN and your LLC. Nowhere near, or you'll probably see on the application, but nowhere near the approval should there be anything that keeps you from attaining business credit because of your social security. Now, obviously, we use our social security to set up our LLCs and to set up our EINs, but when we're looking at the actual application, it should be more geared toward the EIN and the LLC, which brings me into kind of like the second point that we want to take a look at that banks don't want you to know, is that apart from them looking at the EIN and the LLC over your social, this links back to your personal credit. Your personal credit, when we're talking about true business credit, your personal credit should not affect how much funding your business is able to access. And this is true because if, let's say we have a company like Apple, Apple's CEO, his credit can go down to 500 right now. And Apple can go to a bank tomorrow and ask them for a $1 million, and I'm being generous, but just to keep simple numbers, a $1 million line of business credit, and they would be able to access it like this. The reason for that is because the business is its own entity. This is why the EIN and the LLC play a majority role over the social security number. And this is why the social security number that's linked back to your personal credit shouldn't have any type of effect on true business credit, which is why the FICO score and a Paydex score are two totally different scoring models. Your FICO is for your personal and your Paydex is for your business. Now, when it comes to building up your Paydex score, here's something that you want to keep in mind. You want to have at least 5 trade lines reporting over on your Paydex score or over on your Dun & Bradstreet, which is what generates your Paydex score. So let me kind of run that back. Dun & Bradstreet is the largest business credit bureau. You know how in the personal credit world we have TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Well, in the business credit world we have Dun & Bradstreet, we have Experian, and we have Equifax. But the main bureau that the banks are going to look at is going to be Dun & Bradstreet. You need at least 5 trade lines reporting over to Dun & Bradstreet in order for you to have a Paydex score generated for your business. Now that score, similar to a FICO score, has a certain range. That ranges from 0 to a 100. 80 to 100 being on the good end, and really 90 to 100 being on the excellent side. Now, one thing that is significantly different between a personal credit score and a Paydex score and your business credit score is the business credit score is heavily weighted by how on time your business is making payments. You know how in the personal credit world, it goes based off of the age of the credit, it goes based off of the mix of credit, it goes based off of the payment history, it goes based off of how many hard inquiries you have. In the business credit world is nothing like that, because in the business credit world, it's primarily based on how on time are these payments being made. So let's say that you have a net 30 and you're trying to build up your Paydex score, and that net 30 comes in. If you pay that net 30 on time, then you're going to get anywhere between an 80 to a 90 on the score. But if you make that payment for, let's say, a vendor, you bought some supplies, and that's a net 30, and you paid it within, let's say, 5 days, which is considered really early in the business world, then you're going to receive a score between a 90 to a 99, which is going to give you a big bump over in your business credit. Again, over in the personal world, that's nothing like that, because you can make that payment on the last day before that due date before the due date comes up, or you could make that payment on the first day of that statement cycle, and it doesn't necessarily carry any more weight, but banks won't necessarily tell you that. So a good rule of thumb to remember is the earlier you pay, the better when it comes to establishing your business credit. Now, some tools that you can use if you're looking to build up your business credit is companies like Nav. You can go ahead and find a link down on the bottom. They have different programs out there, so you want to find the best one that's suited for you, but that is going to help you kickstart your business credit and ultimately help you on the business funding on the back end once you start adding those trade lines. And then last but not least, banks give a huge weight, and they won't tell you this, but their algorithm gives a huge weight in the score, not just to how on time you're making your payments, not just where your Paydex score is and how you've been able to build that up with multiple trade lines, but revenue. Revenue in the business world is going to play a huge factor, because this is going to make your business seem like it's not just better established, but it's also more reliable and more likely to make payments back on time. So let's say that you're going for a $50,000 line of business credit. If your business is only bringing in, let's say, $2,000 every single month, that's actually going to be counterproductive and counterintuitive to that bank giving you more funding. Again, what makes it different from the personal credit world is that as long as you have that high FICO score, even if you only have $1,000 in your checking account and maybe $1,000 in your savings account, you can still get approved for a $5,000 to a $10,000, let's say, Chase or Amex. In the business world, you want to have as much as possible in your business checking and in your business savings, along with it actually being under the LLC. A big red flag to underwriters whenever they're trying to get someone approved for a high credit limit is, let's say that you have $5,000 coming in every single month for your business, but there's nothing, let's say, recurring in terms of some of those net 30 payments, which they're taking a look at. And then on top of that, the business account is placed under your personal name. That's actually going to be a big red flag for you to be able to get higher funding from some of these banks. So just a good tip and a good rule of thumb to remember. Make sure that everything is under your company's EIN, under your company's LLC, and that goes for both the bank accounts as well as any articles of organization that you open for your business. So there you have it, or maybe 5 different tips that you should consider and that you should really start taking a look at to see how healthy your business actually is before you go out and you start applying for some business credit. If you found value in this content, consider hitting the subscribe button down below to join the official community. Don't forget that anytime I'm not posting on here, I'm posting over on the Inside with Irv show. So if you like what we have going on over here, you'll love what we have going on over there. Once again, I appreciate you guys checking me out. Till next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.